Hi, everybody, and welcome to Your Ancestors Are Calling, shifting your perspective on anxiety and depression to heal generational wounds. I hope with this summit to help people shake the stigma of anxiety and depression and see these things as more of a gift than a burden, so that as we begin to heal these things or address these things or look at these things, we realize that we're healing for generations past as well as generations to come. So today I have with me Anna Lee Mintz, and she is the founder of naturalhealthyhaven.com. She's a strong believer in epigenetics, meaning that one is fully able to change their environment, diet, mindset, and lifestyle to heal any unhealthy genes that are contributing to a health condition. Anna also believes that many conditions are preventable and reversible. She specializes in various aspects of health-related issues that cover one's physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual well-being. So, Anna, let's see. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I first want to thank you very much for the opportunity to share this information with everyone listening. I love what you're doing. I love the whole topic behind this and the benefits people will get from it. Yes, I am a certified healthcare consultant with Total Health Mastery, as well as the Emotion Code practitioner through Dr. Bradley Nelson. If any of you are familiar with the Emotion and the Body Code, it's super powerful. One of my strongest beliefs after graduating from the Total Health Mastery is that you don't have to be a victim of your ancestors' genes or blame them for your diabetes, your heart disease, cancer, or any other health conditions. This is what epigenetics basically is, and it states that you really do have full control of changing your diet, your sleep patterns, your mindsets, lifestyle, the environment, and reverse all these kinds of conditions that we all have that we're carrying from our ancestors.
Wonderful. And can you give us some tips on some, or how we can start to improve our diet, and explain how improving the diet, what that has to do with enjoying a quality life and serving our purpose?
Well, sure. Well, the main thing for everyone to understand is that when your body, your mind, and your spirit are functioning happily as a whole, you live a lot more of a quality life, and you're better able to tap into your higher self to fulfill your purpose in life, which is what we want to do. We're all here on a mission, and we all have a purpose, and the healthier we are, the more we're able to fulfill our mission to its better with ease, basically, is what we're trying to do. We're trying to do this mission on an easy way out, okay? So going back to diet, what goes into our gut has been proven to affect our brain and our pain, okay? Because a lot of it is inflammation. So the secret to reversing practically all ailments, such as pain and inflammation and diabetes and some cancers, is to take the bad out, which is the chemicals and the toxins that we breathe and the foods that we eat. Some of them have all kinds of stuff in it, and the parasites, and put the good in. So a healthy diet basically consists of, I would suggest, basically my philosophy behind a healthy diet is good supplementation, dark greens, spirulina, chlorella, blue-green algae are great, ideally organic, and they can be in powdered and put in a daily smoothie, and that's really a good start for the day.
Awesome. Okay. And I hear that you're a big believer in cleanses and detoxifying the body regularly. Can you share a little more on detoxing and cleansing?
Yeah, well, I think it's super important to keep the liver clean, as it's basically the filter to your body, and it detoxifies the body, as does your gallbladder and kidneys and things. But the liver is huge, and there's so many people that I've met that have never cleaned their colon or their liver. I'm like, oh wow, okay, that explains a lot right there, like why they feel like they do. So think about it this way: the same way it's important to clean your air filter or your oil in the car regularly, you need to clean your body, and this is a great way to detox.
And can you suggest some ways to do that?
Well, there's several ways. I encourage juicing is probably one of the easiest one if you buy a juicer. A lot of people don't want to go in for coffee enemas. I don't blame them. That is a rougher way of doing it. But juicing is pretty easy. Infrared saunas to sweat out the toxins through your skin, and just know that that is the body's largest organ is your skin. Lymphatic massages are great. Colonics, coffee enemas, just to name a few. And this along with like a really healthy diet, which would consist, I know people don't want to hear this, but you do have to take out the white flour, the sugar, the preservatives, nitrates, soy, GMOs, genetically modified or that kind of thing. You want to get that out. Gluten. People are amazed when they just start removing the gluten out of their diet, how inflammation just stops within sometimes days. They don't even have to wait weeks or months. Dairy, of course, helps reverse many health conditions if we remove that. And then that way we don't have to blame our ancestors for their genes. Okay. And again, this is called epigenetics, quite effective. And Mother Nature, or the divine, if you want to call it, never intended us to be sick. It's us humans who begin polluting our air, creating cell towers that frazzle our brain with EMFs standing, for electric magnetic fields. Yeah.
How do EMFs affect our well-being and conflict with our spiritual growth?
Great question. EMFs are proven to damage our DNA. They lower our immune, they affect our focus and brain function. Especially when we carry our phones in our pocket, we're damaging our reproductive organs, and we can even be reducing the sperm count if you're a male and eventually want to have a child one day. That could be a cause of why you may not have a baby so easily. If you're carrying your cell phone in your pocket all the time. So it's essential to have EMF products on our gadgets and on our phones and computers, and just ground your house. You can get the smart meter grounded. There's so many ways. We've had a professional come in and do our whole house. So it can be done.
Okay. Where can we get some of these products, like for the cell phones and our homes?
Okay, you can Google a lot of them online, but I feel very assured with Electric Magnetic Field Solutions. It's a company that I very much value, and they got amazing quality protection for the house. You could find them on my website under products. In fact, if you go on my website, naturalhealthyhaven.com, you can watch the second half of the first Healthy Haven show. And Corey Hillis is the founder of that company, and he's on there discussing EMF solutions and on a beautiful PowerPoint presentation. So you can really get a lot of good information from a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, excellent. Okay. And so I understand you're going to have a handbook out soon, published, called The Suicide Epidemic. The Suicide Epidemic, Ways to Prevent. And in it, you mentioned indigo children. So what are indigo children, and what is the possible connection with them in the suicide epidemic?
Okay, well, being that this is a two-part question, let's begin with explaining the indigo. So I happen to have an indigo myself, and I didn't even know it until my chiropractor brought it to my attention based on his characteristics, and he noticed that in my son. Now, before I became a healthcare practitioner, I was also a teacher, and I was a principal as well, but I used to explain to my teachers what the characteristics are of an indigo child. And it's funny, when I was actually teaching them in my class, I'd be able to spot them in the classroom pretty quick. They do have a certain personality type. They kind of sometimes come in with an attitude. I had one that walked in and just knocked the chair down to let me know he exists, and it was like, and that was the first day of school. It's like, here I am. I'm like, okay, this is going to be fun, but they are amazing people. They could be so sweet. I'm going to get into that at the same time. So ironically, though, I want to say that it seemed like every book in the library was out when I was ready to learn more about them. I thought, oh, this must be like really big here. Okay. But in a nutshell, I'm going to explain to you in a nutshell what they are. They're old souls that they didn't want to come down. They were very unwilling to come down to this world, but they're here to make us aware of something on a very specific mission, to bring us a message that they want to make a positive change, and they want us to be part of that positive change. So they're somewhat disturbed by our way of living. Okay, they think we're crazy. They think, oh my God, we have to be at a certain place at a certain time. The clock keeps ticking, and there we are. We're just always watching that clock, and we got to always be somewhere, and we're always in a hurry, and we're always stressed. When it comes to school, though, they feel it's a jail cell. To them, it's like, oh, I have to sit in this classroom, in a desk, confined with people around me, and the teacher tells me where to sit for 5 days a week. Okay. Now, some think that the curriculum alone is brainwashing them. Okay. And they're even that alone disturbs them. And they feel they're being held back by their own personal creativeness. So they struggle with accepting the imbalance in this world. And that there's some that are super rich and others that aren't. There's a lot of homeless sleeping on the streets that really disturbs an indigo child. Okay, it really hits them hard when they see that. And they find the world to be unbalanced and unfair, and they have a great compassion for the homeless.
Is there a personal example that you can share that had to do with something that your son did?
Yeah, actually, this is a really cool one. Well, there are several times my son wanted to actually bring homeless people to the house to eat, to shower, and to sleep. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh boy, okay. I love where his heart was, but I just wasn't ready for this, right? So the most compassionate thing I would say that he did was he took his allowance, okay, it was about $70 worth, and he went to help a homeless guy to settle in a motel on a rainy night, and that's after he bought him dinner. And I need not tell you what the guy at the desk was dealing with this homeless guy running around, because my son basically wanted him to feel what it's like to live a comfortable day and night and not sleep in the rain. It was so beautiful. I couldn't even believe he did this. Okay. But the guy just didn't know how to fit into a motel. So I think he was up at all hours of the night at the front desk and this and that. But what I'm saying, the bottom line is, going back to all the beauty of it all, is it was just such a beautiful thing from the heart. And this is where their heart is. So as much as we see these indigos as resilient and rebellious, because they don't see the world the way we do, they see it as so damaging. Like, let's help those that need it, not stick me in a classroom all day long and have me brainwashed by the curriculum. Okay, so so he made a beautiful comfort of a change for a person. So
yeah, that's really sweet. Very generous of him. I can relate to all of that. But what a wonderful gesture.
Yes, it really was. And on the flip side, they do struggle, like I said, with authority, the law, and being told what to do, especially in a structured school setting. So many of them do well, like in Montessori style teaching, where they have more freedom. They can sit on the floor, on the carpet while they're learning. And most would benefit from an IEP, which stands for intervention program, okay, while they're in school. And they're permitted, when they have the IEP, if your parents can actually get one for you, you need to kind of see things that aren't going well or smooth in the school system that aren't working well for them. So you can request an IEP. And if you get evaluated and approved, it's amazing, because they give you more extra time to do assignments. When you're doing a test, you have longer time to do your test. So no doubt they can be quite loving and loyal to those in need, such as the homeless, like I said, or less fortunate. But unfortunately, they're rarely understood when they show to be rebellious or resilient towards authority figures like teachers, parents, law enforcers.
Yeah, that makes sense. A lot of sense. What can you tell us about crystal babies?
Well, in the year 2000, during the millennium, many were indigo children, and they came to this world called crystal babies. My son was exactly that. He was a crystal baby, and there was a lot of fear during that time too, because they thought all the electricity would go out when I'm about to give birth, and we couldn't tell if he's going to be born right around December. I'm like, oh my! But he was born. He was born. He was definitely a crystal baby, and all this can be read about online. Basically, you can read more about them, and it's good for parents to, if they think they have a child that have kind of these characteristics, please go read about it, because they're out there and they don't know how to explain themselves. They don't even know that they are an indigo and what an indigo is. It's basically a color. Like, indigo really is an actual color that's around them. But the characteristics is what I'm talking about. I'm stressing more on the characteristics of this type of personality. So
sure. Well, and this is really interesting and worth acknowledging if we have a child like this, or maybe see some of these characteristics in ourselves growing up. So if we are a teacher, we may want to pay closer attention to our students who might show characteristics, not only to better understand why they behave this way, but to find a method to teach them so it can help them better in a classroom setting. There, a lot of books out there probably help with that. Are there any that you might recommend?
Well, for sure. I actually used to print things from the internet and present them to my son's IEP team and their teachers and that with ways of teaching them. There's so much information out there. I used to actually highlight specifically in one chapter just how to teach them. So, and I bring it to the IEP and you know, they were very open to it because they realize they're struggling. They themselves are struggling. There's more of these kids coming in with that personality type than ever. And they don't know if it's ADD. In fact, oh, let me tell you, a lot of them do overlap this type of behavior with ADD. And they're not ADD, they're just bored to tears. In fact, even ADD, I consider it to be a higher dimension. It's not that they're at all daydreaming. They're just, their minds, in fact, I have another son that's ADD too, but they're brilliant. They are absolutely brilliant. When he got out of high school, all he wanted to do was create this app. Now he's creating 2 apps. This is a kid, my ADD son, who never ever wanted to even read a book. But now that he's out of high school, he is tapping into his higher self. He's more spiritual. He got a life coach certificate. Okay. I mean, this is what I believe this new generation millennium is at right now, where these kids are just, school is just not cutting it for everybody. And I got 2, in my opinion, brilliant kids who just, school's just not for them, and they proved it. Because I told him when he was done high school, I said, if I see you fooling around and, you know, hanging out with your buddies and not being in a classroom doing something, you will go back to school. And he proved me. He got up 6:30 in the morning dealing with engineers that are older than him, developing apps. He wrote a book. Literally wrote a book. This is a kid who his teachers told him he can't even spell properly, okay? And he's constantly struggling with grammar, but he wrote an entire book and he put it on Amazon. I mean, amazing, amazing things are happening. So I believe the indigo are right up that alley. They're the ones that are characterized as ADD, because ADD is known more than what an indigo is. There's medication for ADD, unfortunately, you know, but the indigo is not far off with being described like an ADD child. So, like I said, it would make the job easier for a teacher if they went to look into that.
Sure, absolutely. Are there certain maybe phrases or words that you might hear from an indigo child more? Like, I just remember hearing a woman talk about her child and she heard him say, "I don't belong here." Meaning,
yes, there's like they don't belong there, they don't fit in, no one understands me, I'm sick of school, it's like a jail cell. Those are like hints right there. You know, basically they do always relate to going back to the homeless. I want to help the homeless, and why is this world unfair, and why is some richer than others? If they see the huge distinction between people and differences and unbalance, like I mentioned before, there's just so much unfairness to them, you know, like people are super rich and the other one's struggling in a, you know, working their tail off in a factory, you know, for peanuts, like they do some of them, you know, overseas or in third world countries. It's just not fair to them. That's basically where you could tell they're disturbed by this.
Okay, thank you for that. So how do you connect the suicide epidemic that you mentioned in your handbook? I know you work with the emotion code, so maybe you can explain that to us and how that helps with the indigo mindset.
Yeah, sure. As I briefly mentioned earlier, I'm a certified emotion code practitioner through Dr. Bradley Nelson, who explains that there are 60 negative emotions stored in your subconscious mind. And some of them are there even before you were born, such as when you were in your mother's womb, for example. So with the indigo child, there's a very specific emotion that we're taught to remove called the preconception emotion, which is the way they felt before they came not wanting to come in this world. It is beneficial for this emotion to get removed, or in an indigo child as soon as possible. Basically, I wouldn't even hesitate if I knew someone's coming to see me and they're indigo, and you know I got the feeling that they might be. First, I'd ask, "Are you an indigo?" If the subconscious says yes, then I go straight to removing that specific emotion. And basically, what that does is makes them more accepting of being in this world and fulfilling the mission they have been set to do.
Can you tell us how the emotion code works to remove this emotion or any other negative emotion with this modality?
Sure. Well, practitioners that are trained to do the emotion code or body code, there's also the body code, they go one after the other. The emotions are 85% of it first. So you have to get your emotion code certificate first, and then you can get your body code. But what they're doing is tapping into the subconscious mind. So if any of you ever had this done, it's called kinesiology or muscle testing. Okay. I haven't mastered that. I did not succeed very well in doing muscle testing. And it's fine with me that I did, and it wasn't meant to be my gift. And I'm okay with that because I find I use a pendant, and the pendant is so much easier for me to use. I can work on people when they're in a coma or something. It's much easier for me to read them. They don't have to be alert. They don't have to be awake. They don't have to stick their arm out for a long time while I jiggle it and try and figure out what's going on in their subconscious mind. But what I do is I use a pendant. I sway it over any part of their body. I prefer to use the upper part right here of their hand. I'm not a psychic, so some people come to me with the palm and they're like, can you read this? I'm like, I'm not reading your future. I'm reading your subconscious, no more, no less. If I ask a specific yes, no question, such as, does Johnny have a preconception emotion? And it says yes. Then depending on which way the pendant sways, I will then ask, is it a trapped emotion? Remember, all emotions are frequencies. Some of them are trapped on certain parts of your body. That's why you have physical pain here or in your stomach. So I'll ask, is that a trapped emotion? If not, I will go to a heart wall. I'd say, is it a heart wall? Is this emotion a heart wall emotion? And if a heart wall, visualize your heart being beautiful, doesn't mean you have a heart condition. It could lead to that if I don't remove it, because people do end up with heart attacks. But I will remove the emotions. Again, there's 60 of them, one by one, around the heart. And then if not that, then I'll ask, is it an old inheritance? Is it something you inherited from a parent that's still stored in you when you were in your mother's womb that you feel you have no control of? And if not that, then last but not least, there would be a spiritual blockage. Do you have a spiritual reason? Then I need to narrow it down to which of the 60 emotions are stored in the subconscious, causing this preconception emotion out. And from there, oh, there you are. And from there, it's a simple, I just use a magnet. I take the magnet, it can be any size. Just so you know, your fingertips are magnets. And if I don't have a magnet with me, or if you yourself want to remove an emotion in you that you're able to detect, I would just take the magnet and run it over your governing meridian, which is right on the top of your head right there. So I start from the forehead, I go right down to the back of the neck 3 times. I roll it 3 times and it releases the emotion. If it's an old inheritance, which is very deep, then I would do 10 emotions, or 10 rolls, I would say, to release the emotion. The beauty of this modality is that it's quick, non-invasive, and permanent. So once an emotion's gone, it's gone. You may bring on more over your lifetime, of course, and people will come and say, well, I still have that same emotion. Yeah, but you just recreated it. It wasn't the one that we removed that you may have had stored 30 years ago or whatever. You know, that one's gone. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can recreate them, of course. You can see a car accident right in front of you and create another negative emotion of shock or terror or anything. So those are always, as you live, you create emotions daily. But again, the beauty of this is it's quick, non-invasive, and permanent.
It sounds really cool. What other conditions can this modality help with?
Well, lots. It starts from, if we were to do some in alphabetical order, let's say there's ADD, allergies, anxiety, depression, digestion, sleep issues. Some people, are taking tons of sleep products at night before they go to bed. They didn't ever get to the root. The root is the main thing. And we could find out they might have been terrorized by some thought that they have that keeps creeping up while they're sleeping. So, you want to get to the root of that and find out why. It releases physical pain, financial struggles. A lot of people come see me with financial blockages, and the universe, let me just add, is not meant to have you struggle and make a living in a hard way. It's supposed to be smooth. It's supposed to be easy. So I have like a 2-page questionnaire that people come see me to remove whatever it is, and we will nip them, believe me, because the first thing I do is I ask the subconscious, what percentage are you at financially? And I start at 50 and I say, are you over 50 or under 50% financially doing well? And I've had people as low as 15. And when we were done our 2-page questionnaire, we brought it up to 100. We removed all the glitches. And believe me, there's some that, it's such a specific questionnaire that even asks, like, am I a burden in this world? Like, if you are, because if you think you are subconsciously, you're not going to do well in this world. The world will not help you if you don't like yourself or feel good about what you're doing, So we'll remove that. Some people, one of the questions is, I hate money. And yet they're talking to me about how they want Lamborghinis, but yet their subconscious is saying, I hate money. So there's a little something that we got to resolve with that, right? So we'll remove it. Again, I go back to the 60 emotions and say which 60 emotions are affecting this thought. And by the end of the 2 pages, they're done. I have got amazing testimonials that you can go look at, again, on my website with all this work. And one thing also, the last one also I could touch upon is relationships. A lot of people have relationship issues. If they got a divorce, a lot of them I find are like either holding a grudge or they're on defense mode right now. You know, they don't want to meet the next person. They're afraid to get hurt. So they're like, they got their dukes up, you know. You can't have a relationship and want to meet somebody if you're on guard. That other person will sense it. And that's what we want to remove. We want to get to that beautiful heart that you started with, that is sweet and loving and caring and giving and just opening up to everybody. And that's what we're trying to tap in when we do the relationship emotion work. So that's a beautiful one. I remember I was working on some gentleman that was here, and 3, while we're doing it, believe it or not, 3, this is almost bizarre. Like, he couldn't even believe it. But 3 of his former girlfriends were texting him while I'm working on him, trying to open up all the channels for him to go back and meet more people. So he couldn't believe it. He says, wow, when I'm done with this session, I'm going to have to pick and choose kind of thing, which one I'm going to call back. But it was funny. And the ones going back to the financial one, I've had some that their stocks went up. Not that I can control the market, but the universe started to help them. Another one, really interestingly, he was dealing with court cases with his family, and he was losing. He had one more trial to go to, and he won. The last one he won. It worked to his favor. He got everything he wanted out of the court case. And other people said, you know, their jobs, their bosses were treating them nicer. Things were just opening and blooming with relationship and financial. Those are 2 big ones. And people come mainly for that. And then last but not least, there are some that, first of all, just know there are about 8,000 emotion code practitioners doing this around the globe. Okay. This is energy healing. Okay. And it's literally, it gets to the root cause of why you feel depressed or anxious or feel an addiction to drugs, food, or alcohol. We'll get to the root of it.
Wow. So this is a really quick and beneficial 21st century modality, right? Mm-hmm. So after you remove the preconception emotion in an indigo, what's next?
Well, it depends on what you're looking to accomplish. So removing the preconception emotion is the first thing. And I'd want to remove that, of course, if I detect it's an indigo, since we want to make them accepting to be in the world, right? Like in fact, you know, I want to add one more thing. Elderly people sometimes get to a point where they're giving up and they don't even want to live. One of the things I have to ask before I even continue is bring back the will to live. They have to want to be here for me to help them. Same thing with the indigos. If they have the preconception emotion, I can't help them if they're still having that conception of, you know, the preconception thought of, oh, I don't want to be here. Let's remove that. Let's get that out of the way. And then now we can work with changing the mindset. And that's really powerful, because I look for things that cause them to be resilient, depressed, anxious, or anything else that their subconscious is storing that could be affecting their behavior and their well-being. And of course, the same thing goes with anyone who's having suicidal thoughts as well.
So our subconscious is quite powerful.
It sure is. And if you look at it like a computer hard drive that knows everything about you, this modality allows me to detect which of the 60 negative emotions is causing you to have these thoughts and remove them. Like I said before, it's like a onion layer, like peeling onions layer by layer by layer, you know. And then the goal, we have to stick with why we're doing this. The goal is to help the person feel calm, focused, and content in their own skin, and then in the environment in this world that they're in.
And yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. You shared an interesting comment that an older indigo gentleman made. Can you share that with our listeners?
Yeah, this is a really interesting one. So this gentleman, he was in sales, and I just happened to pick up the phone, and I wanted to it was Vibes Up, actually, and I wanted to get some grounding products for my indigo son. So I happened to mention to him that I have an indigo son, and he says to me, oh, I happen to be an indigo too. And we talked for like over 25 minutes. And he was telling me the struggles that he had, how miserable he was all through his school, how he ran away many times. He could never find joy in anything. And now, of course, he does, because he loves what he's doing. He as much as he couldn't stand school and ran away, this is what he found, because he feels he's helping people, right? They always like to help people, these indigo people. And he's now finding, by selling these products, it's helping the way he used to be. And it's helping him realize that other people can be calm and grounded from the products that he's selling. So many indigos do show that their best comfort and fulfillment when they're helping others, whether it be through voluntary work or through pay. And they do well working with animals and horses. Many benefit from equine therapy with horses, or canine with dogs. My son loved equine, loved horses. I mean, he just can't get enough. He wanted to actually buy the horse and bring it home. And they're gorgeous. I mean, if we had a stable, I would, but I just got a backyard back there, wouldn't do the trick. But they love feeding the homeless in shelters, or working with the elderly is also really good. My son actually worked with elderly too. He was so patient with them. And, you know, remember, some of them have dementia and Alzheimer's. He didn't mind. He just repeated it as needed, calmly, and loved it. I mean, it's just a beautiful soul. You could see how beautiful their souls are. And another thing that really works well is taking time to write a gratitude journal, and being mindful of what they do is so beneficial in changing their mindset from negative to positive as well.
Excellent. So I think you mentioned earlier that indigos and even those with ADD or autism are highly sensitive to EMFs. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I do believe that I believe that this can be corrected for sure if they get the EMF products, especially from cell phones and for their computer chips. But they're more sensitive to it. I think even ADD and people with autism too, as well, really are more sensitive to the frequencies, the sounds. You know, it's in the air, and they seem to, it frazzles their brain a lot more than the average person, I found.
Mm-hmm. It makes a lot of sense. If you're sensitive to energy, period, and then you have all of that energy, is probably just so, I know for myself, it feels overwhelming, and like it's hard to filter. How do I
exactly
do this?
Yeah, exactly.
So is there any final message you'd like to leave our listeners with, that maybe combine the powerful modality of emotion code with the indigos, or any of those having suicidal thoughts, that can better our world?
Sure. Well, in a nutshell, I would conclude by saying a few things. So first of all, we're all here on a mission to better this world. Okay. We didn't choose when we arrive. We're not going to choose when we depart. All we can do is embrace why we're here, for our purpose, and what obligation. Basically, we want to embrace that we're here for a purpose, and it is our obligation to discover our mission and fulfill it to the best of our ability. So when we face our obstacles, or challenges, you can call them, our best bet is to ask the divine for help. So many people don't even know that there's someone out there that can actually help them, and they're not physical, okay? They can just pray. Praying seems to help a lot of people, and they turn into spirituality when they find they got obstacles. All of a sudden they say, oh my God. Yeah, well, why do you say, oh my God? It's not just a phrase. There's literally, subconsciously, you know that there's a higher being out there, okay? So that's one thing. And if you have suicidal thoughts or feel like giving up, then you really should turn to hotlines. There's local communities, counselors, shelters. Getting medically tested for any chemical imbalances is huge. Checking in to see if you have MTHFR. This is huge. And it's an enzyme that, if you detect it, will restrict you from being able to absorb B vitamins, and people need B vitamins. Okay. If this is the case, you can have a tendency to be more anxious and depressed. You can suffer from sleep issues, insomnia, and more than the average person would. So lastly, try to find out if you have an emotion code practitioner in your area. You can go online A lot of them do proxy work, which you don't even have to be in their local area. They're willing to do it overseas. There's 8,000 or more around the world doing this. So you can find them. A lot of them will even do it for free. In fact, there's some that I know because I'm on a Emotion Code Facebook with them. Some of them are just about to graduate and they need people. They're looking, they're like, does anyone want to volunteer? And I will work on them for nothing. So go do that. Go Google Emotion Code practitioners and they will help you overseas. You'd be amazed. Basically, like I said, if you're local, I would, get in touch with a good community. We have, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I love to go to help the homeless on Tuesday nights. We gathered all our stuff that we're not using and wearing. These people cherished towels that they needed, little shampoos that sometimes I get from hotels that, they just give you for nothing. I accumulated a bag every time I travel. Then I got my own that I have that, I will buy for them and, give them shower coins. Some of them take showers in the beach. It feels so good. I mean, you see them and they got the biggest smile of gratitude on their face. So if you're down in the dumps, go help people like that, okay? If you are one of those people, there's help out there because I know every Tuesday there's some organization that gives hot meals and they gather under a canopy in a park and all you have to do is Google your local community, business bureau and they'll tell you where to go to find these shelters and there's help out there, and you're needed. They have to remember they're needed. They're here for a mission. The best, most beautiful thing that gentleman told me is he knew that he didn't want to kill himself because he knew if he did, he'd have to come back to this world to fulfill his mission. Okay, so he didn't want to let go. He figured, what's the point? I'm going to have to come right back and finish where I left off. So if you're, for example, if you were physically or verbally abused in childhood, you may be going through life feeling worthless, which again, an emotion code practitioner can help with. So God didn't leave us here alone to figure out this puzzle, and help is out there in more than one way. And the world can be beautiful depending on what lens you're looking through. And all this can be easier to do if we turn to, it can all be easier to do if we nurture our body through a healthy diet, quality sleep, clean air, daily exercise, healthy relationships, and finding what we enjoy doing, which in turn can help us feel fulfilled and needed. And we are needed.
That's definitely a path we want to be on and a motto to remember, that we are needed. It's very important. Very, very important. So you, I think, wanted to talk about your free gift a little bit to the listeners.
Sure. I'd like to offer a few gifts. If you live here in San Diego, I will offer a free 15-minute emotion code session to the first 15 people that contact me, and you can have my information below. I will release any negative emotions holding you back. It could be emotionally, physically, mentally, or spiritually. We can even touch upon or start the relationship one or the financial one if you want to work on that. And a lot can be released in 50 minutes. I know you're thinking, oh, it's only 15. I work so quick. It's mind-blowing. Like I just layer after layer, I detect it, boom, remove it, go to the next, get those layers out. So I tend to do this modality. I tend to find this modality to be more effective when the person's actually with me. So I'm not a big fan of doing the proxies like the other practitioners around the world do. So for those of you that are not local and don't live here, there's another option I can offer you. We can do a free 15-minute health consultation where we can discuss any health issues that you're dealing with and provide holistic tips to help your condition as well. So that's also pretty effective. So in the meantime, I just welcome all of you to check out my website, naturalhealthyhaven.com, where you can watch Healthy Haven shows that I produce. I'm actually the producer and host of Healthy Haven. I started it here in San Diego. It's the only one so far that no one has done health topics here like that in a fun way. Our shows are so much fun. You win prizes when you're there. You get to interact with the speakers. We've got raffles going on. It's really, really fun. But because they've been recorded, you can watch them on your screen. So you'll learn an hour worth of great information from watching the shows. And also my website talks very thoroughly about the emotion codes. You can read more about that as well and see what you're getting. And, feel free to email me at anna@naturalhealthyhaven.com. You can call me. My phone number will all be listed below.
Excellent. Wonderful. Anna, thank you so much. I learned a lot from you, and that was really wonderful information. So great.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I wish you all optimal health, and I hope everybody, learns as much as they can learn, because knowledge honestly is power. And that's our biggest motto in the Healthy Haven show, is that knowledge is power. The more you learn, the more you can help. And like I said, if you are indigo and have a child that is, get out there and learn more about it. It's so beneficial. A pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you soon.